I saw you, God, it's probably late 90s doing, going up against Soul Jazz Sound System in Brixton.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was fun.
And I remember you slaying the crowd with your stories specifically. And Soul Jazz got up and they they'd mined some amazing tracks and they were putting out stuff you'd never heard of. But when you got up and played My Boy Lollipop and told the possibly erroneous story about who is it on supposedly on harmonica? Is it?
It's supposedly Rod Stewart, but I finally asked him if it was him. In person, he said no, it wasn't. It was somebody who looked like me who was in my band.
Excellent.
But I've subsequently heard that it really was him, but he said it wasn't, so I have to believe him.
But the response when you told that story was incredible. And the fact that you're playing, there were a lot of dreads in the crowd, and you mentioned Rod Stewart, and the whole place went just lit up.
Along with Tom Jones turning up at Subterranea in West London one night, brought there by Wycliffe Jean from the Fugees, who phoned me and said, "Rodigan, I'm coming to the club tonight at +1, please." And I laughed. And he came on stage and he gave us an acetate to play, and he said, "Press play on that." And before we pressed play, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I've got a special guest surprise joining us tonight, Tom Jones." And on walked Tom Jones, and he was singing a medley of his hits in a reggae style on the Heavenless rhythm that he'd voiced that night in the studio before he came to the club for Wycliffe's sound. How about that?
That is
Tom Jones, rubber-dub. It's like the green, green grass as the sound boy comes to meet me. It's the green, green grass of home, sound boy style. You know, the coffin, the sound boy's dead. It's not unusual to kill a drum pan sound. Da, 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 da. It was unbelievable. 3 or 4 of his songs. He just stood on stage. The place went absolutely crazy. Tom Jones on stage at Subterranea, Rodigan's Reggae, Wednesday night.
One final question. You've obviously met everyone in reggae. Pretty much everyone.
Pretty much.
It would seem like anyone that you need to have met or come across or worked with, you have done.
Yep.
Who have you missed out and who do you regret?
Well, I have met most of them. I was fortunate in that. And I made it my business to meet them or find them. Augustus Pablo was one of the hardest because he was by his nature very elusive and very private. And I eventually managed to secure an interview with him in Jamaica, which I thought I'd never get. If I relay all my favorite singers off the top of my head, I can see them and remember when I first met them. You know, so I'm running them in my head now. Gregory Isaacs, Dennis Brown, Burning Spear, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bonnie Whaler, you know. And I've met them all and I've interviewed most of them because I went out of my way to do so. I pursued them with a vengeance. I mean, the first time I tried to interview Bonnie Whaler was outside Harry J Studios on Roosevelt Avenue in Kingston, and he just looked at me as if to say, "You've got to be joking." You know?
So were you down there with the tape deck?
Yeah, I said, "Can I do an interview?" He just looked at me, he was getting in his Jeep, he said, "No, you can't." He got into his Jeep and drove off on the dust bowl. Then I tried to interview him again, and then finally I was at Orange Street and Cash and Carry Records, and Junior Delgado broke the ice for me and said something to him about this. You know, this man really loves our music, and then he grudgingly came forward. And now Bonnie Whaler and I, incidentally, are very good friends. But in that, I finally got that interview in Orange Street, and I remember asking him for a poster, and he said, "Yes, I'll give it to you and I'll sign it, but make sure it goes up in the reception area of Capital Radio." I said, "Of course it will." Bonnie, it's in my studio at home.
So I think the final answer to that really is then no regrets.
No regrets? No. No, Tom, I don't have any regrets. I consider myself very fortunate and highly blessed, as they say in Jamaica. I haven't mentioned in this interview the love that Jamaicans have given to me. And I say to camera, thank you, Jamaica, because I'm not Jamaican. I don't come from your island. But the love that Jamaicans have shown me on a one-to-one basis and in crowds and dances, concerts in Jamaica, has been something to behold. And I've been very fortunate, so I have no regrets. I've always been a fan, and the ultimate fan is to get the autograph. Buying the record's one thing, but getting the autograph is a big deal. I got more than the autograph from most artists, and you can ask them. I ask all of them to sign my albums because I'm still a fan, and I always will be. And for me, the privilege was being in a position where I could act on behalf of other fans. Because I've said many times, if I wasn't up there playing the records, I'd be in the audience dancing to them. And that for me is what this is all about. You can listen to songs in your front room and they have a special meaning and effect upon you. Some songs don't necessarily translate to the dance hall, but others do. And some serve in both areas. And music is a driving force in most people's lives because it's a release. I always remember Gregory Isaacs describing, "Oh, what a feeling." And he said, "Oh, what a feeling" is a description of a working man's Saturday night in Jamaica. You work in the fields, you work in a factory, whatever it is you're doing. As he said, you work in a factory, you never get to see the boss. And Saturday night epitomizes that what joy can be and enjoyment can be generated by people getting together. I remember my father came from a coal mining town on the east coast of Scotland, and when we used to go up there on holidays, I always remember a Saturday night how they would all gather in the mining clubs and sing and play music. And my father was a band leader, and my father played in that band, piano accordion. So music was always a driving force in their lives, and it always has been, and it is universally so. And that's why music is such an important part in people's lives. The fact that at the V&A right now there's a David Bowie exhibition, and you can't get in at the weekends because everyone wants to go and see things associated with an icon of popular music, Bowie, a phenomenon. You know, you can't get a ticket at the weekend. You know, from looking at ticket stubs and costumes and things that you thought would have been thrown away. Why are there people who know every single word of some of his albums? Why is that so? Because that's the effect that music has on you. You know, I remember living, eating and sleeping Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And it was only, I think that was one of the most important albums I'd ever heard until I heard Catch a Fire by the Wailers, which absolutely blew me away. I don't think I'll say any more. Tom, thanks.
Excellent.
Cheers.